Altron's subsidiary Bytes technology will acquire Unisys Africa once it's been given approval by the competition authorities in South Africa, Botswana and Namibia. Joining us to take this discussion further is Robbie Venter, CEO of Altron. Thanks so much, Robbie, for joining us this afternoon. Well, we've got, as I say, Bytes planning to acquire Unisys Africa. It's a transaction that's still, still subject to competition authority approval. But run us through the rationale of actually venturing down this route right now.
Yeah, well, the Altron Group and Bytes is always on the lookout for good opportunities to grow our business. We are an acquisitive company, and we also have some long-standing relationships with other multinationals such as Unisys in the world, people like Xerox and NCR. So this type of a transaction fits quite well with a model that we're familiar with. We'll be taking on exclusive distribution and servicing rights for certain products in certain African countries. So that was the one thing that attracted us to this transaction. The second was our plans in Africa are quite extensive and well documented, and this helps us to expand our footprint into Africa and support the Unisys brand in some African countries. And then I guess the third reason is synergies with our existing Bytes businesses, and that's primarily on the systems integration side, the outsourcing side, and on the managed services or maintenance side, where they have complementary businesses to ourselves.
And one can only assume that you've had a better sense of these synergies that you can enjoy, having had a 5-year distributor agreement with Bytes already. So this a relationship that has been long-standing that you're just now taking a step further.
Okay, well, we've worked alongside, but we haven't had the distribution rights. That's a new contract that we're signing now, concurrent with the acquisition.
Will start now for
a 5-year period, correct. But we have worked with Unisys on some joint projects before, so your point is valid. We know the company well, we know the people well, and we see it as a good opportunity. I think the other one area that we do see as a good stepping stone for our Bytes business is that Unisys Africa is quite strong in the public sector, and that's not an area where we've been particularly strong. So we do see this as an opportunity to leverage that presence in the public sector and maybe expand our Bytes cross-selling into some of the public sector clients that Unisys Africa has got.
What kind of exposure are you looking at when it comes to your exposure in the public and then private sectors across the continent?
Okay, so I would say that probably, don't quote me exactly on the number, but I would say that roughly revenues are about 50%, somewhere in the order of 40 to 50% would be public sector revenues for Unisys Africa. The bulk of their business is still in South Africa, but they've got points of presence in Africa, and through this distribution agreement we are either a preferred partner or an exclusive distributor in quite a few countries in Africa. So that's certainly an area that we're going to be looking to expand.
Okay, so it gives you that expansion opportunity. What about economies of scale? Because that's a bright spot when it comes to any M&A transaction. To what extent or degree are you looking to derive benefit on that end?
Absolutely. The synergies we see, and a lot of that is driven by economies of scale, are there with our 3 divisions, our systems integration division, our managed services division, and what we call Bytes Connect, or our outsourcing division. And critical mass is important in all those areas, and being able to do things more efficiently with greater scale is the name of the game in IT today. Our customers are demanding cheaper prices every year, so one has to be more and more efficient. So this definitely helps us to get some of those efficiencies.
Of course, that's some of the opportunities that are being brought into here. We still have details lacking when it comes to this transaction. Any hint as to what price tag you're buying into the opportunity at?
Unfortunately, it's confidential, and we've signed a confidentiality agreement with Unisys, and when we're able to share that information, we certainly will do so. But it's for us a reasonable size acquisition.
Okay, so we'll be looking out for that figure. In the meantime, let's unpack the operating environment and opportunity that you're looking to leverage off on the African continent right now, and what your experience has been of playing in the IT space across the board on the continent at this stage.
We've been very strong in the countries countries immediately to the north of us. So traditionally, Bytes has been strong in Namibia, in Botswana, in Mozambique. But I think what this transaction gives us, and the relationship that we've got with Unisys in terms of the spread into Africa, and then also our recently signed agreement, which we signed in last year sometime with Xerox to represent them in 26 countries in Africa, is part of really a stretching of our boundaries, going north from the traditional SADC countries. And we're looking really to focus on three main hubs. The Southern Africa part will remain a strong hub for us, and we are quite strong in that area. We will look to build out of East Africa, where we, through our other subsidiary Altec, have got a presence, and we will look to build out of West Africa, again, where Altec has got a presence. So we'll use that as our three hubs, or centers, if you will, for our Africa expansion.
Of course, relatively speaking, we've got African economies boasting growth that many of the developed world economies would, or are envying at this stage of the game. Taking a look at demand for IT services that are out there, what demand are you catering to? And do you have enough of a skill space, enough of a footprint out there to actually cater to that demand effectively? Yeah,
look, we certainly see what many other people see, that the African economies are growing faster than the South African economy, and we have an opportunity to leverage off that. In terms of our footprint, we have a reasonably sizable footprint in East and West Africa, and through our distribution agreement with Xerox, we've represented in 26 countries in Africa. What we need to do is use those points of presence to really sell more of the products that we've got right now. So it's leveraging off that footprint and expanding it to a certain degree where necessary, but selling more products and services through that footprint. And public sector is a very important part of that. As far as the skills go, it's obviously a challenge in Africa, and what we tend to do is look to do a combination of acquiring those skills locally, but also supplementing them with skills from South Africa.
Of course, if you're looking at Altec's operations in East Africa specifically, it's been somewhat of an Achilles heel for the company. There have been poor results coming through from that end, particularly from the East African region. What lessons have you learned, on that end from past experiences, now venturing into 2012 and pursuing your African strategy more aggressively? Yeah,
I think many lessons to be learned. I think Africa, many people have said and postulated that it's a great market, but it's a challenge. It's a much more challenging environment to operate in. Local conditions apply, local cultures apply. One has to deal with many other issues that in a developed area you don't deal with. But along with that come the opportunities. So one has to learn the lessons and apply those going forward, and make sure that you take advantage of the growth opportunities, because it's definitely there.
And we know that at the end of last year we had a turnaround strategy come into play for that East African operation. Let's leave it there. Robbie, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, Robbie Venter is CEO of Altron.